Hello, and welcome to, or welcome back to, MGBs and Other Stuff, a channel that explores MGBs and other things that interest me. Hopefully, you'll find it interesting too. If you enjoy this channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Hi folks, and thanks for coming back to my channel. Today I thought I'd comment on some of your comments. So I've taken some of the things that you have mentioned in the comment section of my page, and I'm going to do a short feature on some of them. I also have some questions for you about the things that I'm unsure about. As always, I really appreciate the feedback you provide me, and I hope you find this interesting. So I'm going to start with steering wheels. Now, I had a comment about the original style of steering wheel. I think they were called banjo styles. And I really like the look of them, and the commenter said that he really liked the look of them as well. And in fact, when I test drove 65, I think it was fitted with a reproduction one. Unfortunately though, it was a little too big for me. I think they're about 16.5 inches in diameter, and when I slid myself into the driver's seat, it actually rested on my thighs. And the seller and I discussed that a little bit and thought maybe lowering the seats would help. I think he had put some risers on the rails, only because he was a little bit shorter than I was. The other thing though I was concerned with was, you know how when you want to adjust yourself in your seat and you grab the steering wheel and you might pull yourself up a little or push yourself back? Well, it had a lot of movement, and I think because it was a reproduction, it was very plasticky in its feel, and I felt that if I pulled too hard on it, I might even break it. I have really no idea about the one that's fitted to the car now. It does appear in the restoration photos, and the horn push on it is, I think, original. It looks very old to me anyways. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was a dealer option, likely not a factory option. I have had it off, and it doesn't have any maker marks on it at all. And there's quite a bit of wear on it, so I think it's pretty early in the car's history. Could have been an aftermarket purchase, and was installed by the previous owner. I'm not sure. It's about 15 inches in diameter, but if anybody out there knows anything about this wheel, I would like to have some information on it, just for my own interest. I think one of the most frequent comments I get is about the color, and that can either be online or in the comments postings, or at a stoplight and somebody rolls down their window. It is iris blue, but I'm not sure how true it is to the factory iris blue. There's no original remnants of the paint anywhere to be found on the car. You can find the paint codes online though. The previous owner did give me a container of the paint that he used. It may still be alright, but it is 20 years old now. The container has sealed up pretty good, and when you shake it, you can still hear that it's liquid. I did notice in one of the restoration pictures the same kind of container sitting in the engine bay, probably full of nuts and bolts. But it's an old player's tobacco container. I think he smoked quite a bit. One of the other comments I get is how nicely the color offsets the engine when the bonnet's up. Sometimes people ask me what my favorite part of the car is, and I always say it's the rearview mirror. Now that might sound kind of silly, but I consider it like a little piece of jewelry hanging off the windscreen. And I'm pretty sure this one's original to the car, and besides, I'm always looking at it to see what's coming up behind me. One of the comments I had from a viewer is that he remembered his dad's early MG, and for some reason he remembered the mirror itself and how it had that golden color on the back. And he thought it was tarnished or was from cigarette smoke. And honestly, when I first saw this one, I thought it was tarnished as well. And so, like him, I'm glad that I never tried to clean it. I also had a comment about the master cylinders for the brake and clutch fluid, and apparently original ones with caps are hard to come by. These ones are in need of some tidying up, and so that'll be a good project for me in the spring. I mentioned in an earlier video that I'm always kind of torn about when it comes to the correctness of the car and all the little bits and pieces. And although I said I'm fine with whatever keeps it going down the road, I'm also very interested in what it would have originally have been. And I found this website that has a very similar car, and it's really about his quest to restore it to the original specifications. He talks about the same things that some of you have left in the comments, and it's really worth checking out. So this is my favorite part of your comments, and that is sharing your cars and your experiences. So what follows are images of some of the cars, I think maybe most of them, that I grabbed off the internet that you've mentioned or owned or restored or have talked about. I just finished watching a video about the history of Morris garages, and one of the things that I found interesting about the GTs was that the designers at Morris garages were having trouble getting a hard top on the MG body that looked good, and so it was actually an Italian designer who came up with the GT look. One person left a comment and mentioned that they had just acquired a TR250, and I'd never seen one before, so I looked it up right away and I kind of fell for it right away. I mentioned in my reply that it kind of reminded me of a whole bunch of different British sports cars sort of all rolled up into one, and one of them was a Vauxhall. I think it was the horizontal grille lines and the chrome running down the sides that reminded me so much of a Vauxhall. I'm always impressed with the knowledge that you folks have out there and how many cars you've owned and how many you've restored. One person said they called their MG the Beast because it was such a beast to restore. And it just goes to remind me that what a neophyte I am when it comes to MGBs and how much I appreciate the knowledge base that's out there. I'm not sure if any of you watched the video in which I counted all the MG logos on the car. One person commented that the logo was sacred and you could never have enough, which I would agree to. And one very observant person commented that I had missed two. So now we come to the Heritage Certificate. This certificate comes from the British Motor Industry Heritage Trust. And if you send them some money and your VIN number or their card number, they'll send you a certificate with the Abington records for your car. And I'll share those details for my car near the end of this video. So in the meantime, I'm going to discuss model years versus build years, and I'll refer you to an article that I found in the 1995 May-June edition of MGB Driver. The title of the article is on the screen now, and so is the link to the website where I found it. So there's always been a bit of a discussion to what the year of this car is. Is it a 62 or a 63? It was obviously built in 62, but was it sold as a 63 model or a 62 model? So it's well known that in May of 1962, MGBs started their production. And in this chart, it clearly states that car number 101 was the 1963 model year. And interestingly, the next line shows that the second car that was ever produced was actually a left-hand drive, which would have been probably for the North American market. And as you work down the list, you can see that in August of '63, manufacturing began for the 1964 model year. So I'm pretty confident that this is a model year 1963 MGB, and that really I don't think any 1962 model years exist. I think they were all for the 1963 model year. Of course, I might be wrong about all this, but the article seems pretty compelling and the sources seem sound. I'd be really interested in what you think about this, and if you leave me a comment, I'll be sure to respond. I also found a funny thing about body numbers. Apparently, early MGBs had two body numbers. One was spot welded on the inside of the passenger side wing on left-hand drive cars and was recorded in the Abington records. And the other one was screwed on the inside of the driver's side wing and has the prefix MGB, and it was not recorded by Abington. So I got my British Motor Industry Heritage Trust certified copy of a factory record. Sometimes we just call it the Heritage Certificate. And it certifies that the details given below are a true copy of an entry in the original factory records for the vehicle with the chassis number quoted. And so we know the make and model is an MGB Roadster, and the VIN number we know. The engine number, this would have been the one that was original to the car. Of course, the one I have in it now is a replacement. But the original one would have been a 3-bearing main, U for the 3-synchro mesh gearbox, H for high compression, and it was number 2107. I wonder if it's still out there somewhere. The body number aligns with the tag in the car, so it's 2044, and the specifications would have been left-hand drive for the North American export, Canadian export in brackets, and the exterior color would have been iris blue, which we knew, and the trim color black. Hood color would have been blue, so that would be the top. I've seen them in blue, and I think it's too much blue on a blue car, and I like the contrast of the black one I have now. And the build dates, built between October 26th and October 30th, 1962, and the date it was shipped was November 9th, 1962. And the destination, of course, was Canada. And I think most of the cars, the MGs that came over for export, ended up in Hamilton and were offloaded there and then went out to the different dealers. And the details of equipment, disc wheels, heater, which I think would have been an option, black tonneau cover, ashtray, miles per hour speedometer, and a fold away hood. So I've had that laminated so I don't wreck it. I forget how much it was. I think it was around $60, $70, $80 by the time you converted the dollars over. But it's worth it, nice to have, and I'll keep it in the boot. Well, that's all, folks. I may have one more MGB video in me. I'm not sure. I might have to wait till spring now. But I want to send a shout out to Jeff H., who put me on this path of discovery with regards to model years and build years and that sort of stuff. And really everyone else who has liked or subscribed or commented. I know I always say this, but I really do appreciate it. And so I'll see you next time.